Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. I would like to start by thanking all my subscribers for the support, for the kind comments, the professional and mindful comments you leave in the section. I would love to thank all my subscribers for all the support I receive in my small, blessed channel. Today I'd like to discuss about an important subject in mental health that seems to be quite common, quite noticeable in the world, especially the last couple of years. I believe due to internet and due to the access of internet, which we haven't had before, so it's more easier to see certain kind of people and watch their personalities, and it doesn't take long to figure out, especially as a mental health counselor, where their behavior is leading to. This clip is for entertainment purpose only. It is to learn more about mental health, and this clip is actually for a YouTube creator called Andrea Bullhorn Betty. I've been watching her for a couple of months. We all have been watching her since the Gabby Petito case. But we have been just watching slowly but surely how her destructive personality and behavior has been ruining vulnerable cases, victims, and especially the families of the victims. I can give you all examples from A to Z, or from 1 to maybe 10,000. But let me explain it better by actually explaining it in the mental health diagnosis or symptoms or behaviors that I see. I've been watching Bullhorn Betty, for a very long time. I believe at the start, when she started becoming a more common YouTube creator, there were certain cases a couple of months ago that I would say she was doing an all right job, that she was trying to get awareness for the victims. But I sit and observe and just wonder every time I see her in a different vulnerable case that she travels actually to the destination and causes and stirs up trouble. I am one person that never holds back, and I'll give you the truth the way I see it. We can all agree to disagree. And like I said, this is for entertainment purpose only. And since I'm a licensed mental health counselor, this is what I have observed from her that I finally have come to kind of a conclusion. I personally believe Betty suffers of communal narcissistic behavior. A communal narcissistic behavior or narcissism is one of the 4 or 5 parts of narcissistic personalities. A communal narcissistic person would always try and make themselves the center of attention, especially in public. Whatever good deeds they do will be more done in public. They always seek for validation from the public. They want to be known by the public. They try and do good, but do not misunderstand. I don't mean literally good. They try and do good things just so that they can attract people's attention and they can be validated as a person. Like a good example is a communal narcissistic person would end up doing charity work. If they have money and if they're rich, they would just come to ceremonies or charity events and give out a load of money. And they're not doing it, do not misunderstand, they're not doing it because they care for the purpose where the money is going into. That's just an example. They're doing it so that they can get attention from the public. But when they're behind doors, it's kind of a deception. It's all, they don't have that same motivation. This is strictly for the public to see. They will always make sure that they're around the spotlight. They constantly need validation from everyone. So they would do more and more like Betty does. I'm not saying she's not there to help. I'm not saying that she doesn't want to help missing children and all. She does that because she cares, but the question is, how much does she care? It's all a show. That's why she has to take her bullhorn and just flash it out there and start creating drama, nonsense. That is a typical communal narcissistic behavior. It is kind of a disorder per se, I believe. Because they lack self-confidence when they're behind the camera, when nobody can see them. They do good and they try to get a lot of attention from people by showing that they're doing good, but when they're by themselves behind the cameras, they do not have that same motivation, the same kick to be doing what they're doing. It always has to be in front of a camera, in front of people, in front of an audience. If they do not get it their way, they're quite all right in creating dramas and creating attention in whatever way they can get the attention. Another symptom of communal narcissistic is they do not handle criticism well. Not at all. They can lash out, or they can be insecure. They can kind of stay in their hidden if they don't get the attention that they're seeking for and the validation they're seeking for. It's all one big show. Whether it's a charity event, it's always they want to show people, like, look what I do. They will overdo what they're doing. Just say if it's a group of people donating charity or doing something in a charity event, they will be trying to do the most, trying to be the loudest, trying to show example. If they're going to give out a gift or something, they will try and show people, like, watch what I'm doing, look at how much I'm donating, look at what I'm doing, look at how many people, look at the crowd, they all come to see me. That's the reason I believe she goes and stands in front of the victims' houses. Another thing with a communal narcissistic person is they don't care. They don't have that empathy. Actually, all kind of narcissistic people do not have that empathy. They may have that empathy for themselves, of course, and for certain people of their loved ones, but not for the public, because it's all a stage. It's all a facade that they're playing out. So they don't like criticism. They explore others to gain, whether it's gaining attention, whether it's gaining fame, whether it's gaining profit or money out of it. That's typically what they do. They have many characters that you just have to follow and you will notice. They see themselves as the center of the attraction all the time. They gaslight a lot. They're very insecure. They don't handle criticism, obviously negative criticism. It's all about them. Me. I like, watch me. Look how good I am. Look how, like in Betty's case, it's like, look at how I deal with the public. Now look at me on YouTube, guys. Watch what I'm doing. I'm standing actually in front of Summer Wells's house. They have to be the center of attention. They love to gaslight. They're very insecure. But when they're behind the scenes and when the gloves is off, they really don't care about all this. This is about gaining, whether it's money, fame. It's just like they get an adrenaline rush out of getting people's attention. They're very insecure with themselves. They see themselves as the main person. Like, look at me. I've done this. If I wasn't helping society and missing children so much, I could have done this, I would have done that, but I'm here because I care about the public, because I care about such things. They belittle others too, typical thing of them. They seem themselves more better than other people. They believe they're better than other people, and they're very insecure. So if they don't get things their way, they lash out. They can be extremely rude. They can be extremely without empathy. It's all a facade for them. Communal narcissistic is always about themselves. Like, look what I'm doing. Look at what I'm saying. Watch me. I'm going to go. This is my job. Like Betty. I'm the only one who doesn't sit behind the desk as a YouTube creator. I go actually to the scene. So support me in my cause, because I'm the one who's needed there. And they would stir up drama. It's a well-known fact. Like, whether it's they're gaslighting and they're searching for attention, just say, obviously Betty's not a millionaire. But if she was a millionaire, she would have been going out and paying big time money so that she can get recognized. That is the word. They're always want validation, they want to be recognized, and this is all a facade for them. They love to stir up drama, cause drama, but it is one of the parts of narcissistic behaviors. So it comes always back to themselves. It's all about them, what's in it for them, what's the benefits out of it for them. Like Betty's benefits clearly is to get subscribers, to get viewers, to gain profit, to gain money, to gain more people watching her. But deep down inside, people who are communal narcissistic characters are usually very depressed, they have lack of confidence. They don't have everything that they're imitating that they are. They have none of the skills. It's just all a facade to get people to pay attention to them. Therapies and treatments that people with narcissistic disorders usually get, there's hardly any therapies for them because they love listening to themselves. They're always right. They know best. Other people know little. They are more skilled in whatever they do than you. That's what they believe. That's what they want people to believe. It's all about listen to me. Listen to what I have to say. Here's what I think. Here's what I believe. I'm always right. And they usually have a very difficulties having a relationship because they manipulate a lot. Whether it's a woman or man, they always get into trouble with relationships because they're kind of very manipulative, very deceitful, because they're lying and putting on a facade that is not them. Reality doesn't stick really well with them. They live in their own shadow and they expect you to constantly admire them, believe in them, pass good comments about them, like say, oh, look at Betty, look at what Betty is doing. Betty Bullhorn is, oh my God, have you all heard? Betty's in Idaho now. They always think they're beautiful, they're confident, they're funny, they're loving, they're giving, and it's all that is a facade. But when they are by themselves, they are really depressed because it's all a facade they're playing. I hope that makes sense to you all. It took me time to think. I always look at Betty and I always think she's a narcissistic, but I just wonder, is she a covert narcissistic? Is she what kind of narcissist? And when I remember going back to my articles and such things, and then I was reading through my mental health therapy skills and all that. I was reading Communal narcissistic people. And then I thought to myself, that sounds like Betty, always wanting validation. It's always me, me, me. I'm better than people. Look at what I do. Now look at me, I've gone all the way for baby Quentin Simon's case. But they don't have that empathy that they're playing out. Because look at what Betty did with the neighbors. She disturbed the neighbors. She disturbed the old man who was a neighbor who had to be taken by ambulance back to hospital. She didn't care about the honest taxpayers who were living near baby Quentin, his house, God rest his soul. It was all about herself. That's the reason, that's another thing I've been actually studying her a bit, and I've been thinking, why does she always have little Olivia and Olivia's mother and Justice for You and all that? Because that is the facade and the imitation she's playing. She's made all these people believe that they need her, they're gaslighting of her, and the weak people are always good in following the leader. You always see her boasting about, oh, I have a press card, I'm a what's it called, media. That's the reason they let me be here. I'll give you all a good example. Yesterday, I did not know if I should laugh or what I should do. It was so strange when she especially said that the reason we are here in Idaho, Moscow, is because the poor victim, the four students who died in Idaho, Moscow, Kaylee Konkazils, I believe. She said that apparently she was following Olivia, Chronicles of Olivia, on Instagram, so that makes her, and she was following Olivia. That means the victim was following me and MGL and Justice Hall and Jonathan Lee. How could you even have the audacity to know what a young student who lost her life in a tragedy thought about her or chronicled with Olivia? There's so many channels that I have subscribed to, but I don't watch them. Just at times, because I'm too busy at work, or too busy with my life, with my children, my teenagers, with my family, and having a life besides YouTube life. But it doesn't mean that just because I subscribe to the channels that I pay attention to all of them. I may pay attention to the ones that are following the similar cases that we are following. And you'll know exactly what I mean. There are many channels you'll subscribe to, but it doesn't mean you'll follow all the channels. So for her to actually say that Kaylee, the victim, was following Olivia, and she kept on saying, oh, she's one of us, I found that very strange. I found that, in fact, very, very, I can't find the right word to say. I'm trying to be, y'all know me, I always try to be mindful and professional. I found out to be very kind of not only ignorant, kind of disgusting, because she was using the victim for her and for Olivia, like trying to, see, typical narcissistic, trying to gaslight and say that I know Kaylee, the victim, Kaylee used to follow Olivia. And I didn't see that Kaylee used to follow Olivia. That's the strange thing. But even if she followed her, Olivia's Olivia, that doesn't mean Betty. Betty has typical all the characters of a narcissistic. She has lack of empathy, because if she had empathy, she wouldn't have announced Michael Wong is public report. She wouldn't have announced it when Michael, his poor mother, Brandy Neal, did not hear it from the law enforcement, or she heard it and she didn't want people to know yet. Betty went straight away and made a show. Communal narcissistic. It's like, watch typical narcissistic behavior. Like, look at me. I know better than you all. I'm quicker in getting the research. I'm good in putting it out. I follow everything. It's like Betty, Jonathan Lee, what's his name? Justice for All, Chronicle with Olivia, MGL, the whole bunch of them have something in common. They have lack of empathy. They just use these cases for their interest, to gain popularity, to gain money, to gain subscribers, because you can't say, example, that you care of baby Quentin if you're going and disturbing Quentin's neighborhood. Baby Quentin wouldn't want you to target his neighborhood. She was playing those recordings of babies crying, trying to haunt and traumatize the neighbors and Billy Joe and what's her name? Leilani. Nobody's saying Leilani didn't deserve to go to jail. But when law enforcement said, leave it to us, I always trust law enforcement. Because that is their branch, that is their skills. Sometimes they may not work in the immediate and quick way that we want to receive answers. Everything takes an investigation, it takes time, but it doesn't mean that law enforcement was working on it. Law enforcement in Chatham, the sheriff, told us from the start, he promised us that he knows. He didn't even have to announce that. He announced it and he said that the mother, Leilani, is a person of interest because she did something to her son and she threw his human remains in the landfill. The sheriff in Chatham County told us directly that he's working with the FBI. We heard from the FBI. The ones who deserve the credit, that is another thing with the narcissistic. Bullhorn Betty came out saying, look guys, you see, now Leilani is arrested. Who did it? Obviously me. Typical narcissistic character. Taking credit for something she hasn't done. It was law enforcement in Chatham County that found baby Quentin, and the FBI agents and the voluntary workers who were scraping the landfill, who were risking their health physically and mentally. And they did their job. The thanks goes to them. I even made a thank you video to them. May God bless them. May God bless all the law enforcement who are working with missing children and trying to get an answer for them. Look at Michael Wonger's case. Today when we saw, was his name Jeff, the sheriff of Fruitland, Idaho, you saw him, he indirectly gave it to the YouTube creators. Please continue not to disturb, he said, Michael Wonger's parents. He's talking, when they all say that, they're talking to Bullhorn Betty, Justice for You, Molly Golightly, Chronicle with Olivia's, Jonathan Lee. They're talking to certain characters. They're not talking to the rest of the YouTubers because they know we may go out, we may go offline in cases by talking a bit more of cases, but they know the rest of us are more professional, more mindful, and we have boundaries, and we don't abuse our boundaries. I know many things are public records. I have so many things about this case in Idaho that are public records, but I don't want to come out like Jonathan Lee flashing it out. Guys, big news, 4 victims are dead. Is it this? Who killed them? Who did this? This is the pedophile who lives there. Trigger warning. This is another pedo that lives there. Trigger warning. Another one who lives there, and another one, like Biggie said, and another one, and another one. What does he get out of that? They are already registered in the SCX offense list for a reason, so that people, when they're moving to a neighborhood, they can check around for their safety and for their children's safety. But they don't need to be announced and put up by Jonathan Lee every day. That is a disgrace, that's a shame. And that just shows that Jonathan Lee, justice for all, and all of them, Olivia, Molly Golightly, Dolly Vision, all of them showed that they care about their subscribers, their viewers, so they don't care if they're tampering with the vulnerable case, that we want justice for the victims, then law enforcement's way, everyone's way. And then Betty had the audacity to defend Gerard Lissick and turn against the victim who got child abuse and child rape when she was 9 years old. That is a typical narcissistic who just cares about herself, who just wants gaslighting, wants everyone to validate her, everyone to believe that she's the queen. And she was trashing Jared's cousin, who's the victim. And guess what is strange? Betty was defending Gerard Lissick. Isn't it strange? Two narcissistic characters are defending. She's defending another narcissistic, manipulative, deceitful, liar, rapist. She was defending him. It just shows what kind of person she is. And for all of the people who are on her channel supporting her with her new projects to go attack victims and disturb neighborhoods, sad. Shame on y'all. I'm saying that. Shame on y'all. Because that's not what y'all are supposed to be about. We are here to get justice for the victims, not to attack law enforcement, who promised us they will get their job done and got the job done. She's going around saying Chatham sheriff is this and that, calling him nasty names, when all he did was he did the right thing. He showed Dolly Vision, he showed Molly Golightly, he showed Bullhorn Betty, justice to all. He showed them that Savannah is not your football field to come and play football here. This is a serious case. The FBI is involved. Now, get lost. That's what he showed her. They didn't like that. They kept on pushing his buttons until he got one of the YouTube creators arrested and other people in the public. Just because things are public records or freedom of speech, you have to have self-value, self-dignity, principles, mindfulness, because that is what makes you a human being. That is what makes you a good human being, because you can't say, I'm here to support missing victims and make their mothers cry like she did with Michael Wong's case and Brandy Neal. Now she's acting like Miss Goody Two Shoe in Idaho, pretending that she's a big social media. She's just doing her gaslighting because she doesn't have empathy. She has lack of empathy. She doesn't care about the victim she works, that she's fighting for. Last thing Moscow, Idaho students in the campus need is Bullhorn Betty with a big bullhorn. That causes them mental health issues immediately. That will cause them anxiety, depression, panic, that they're on TV, they could be passing by. She could have them on a camera, pretending to be all decent by saying to them, I just stopped the camera for a second. I don't want the girl who was passing by It's confidential. I don't want you to see your face. Why are you standing in front of the house? Her gaslighting has become so big that she doesn't even understand she's bringing us the news that the news has already given us maybe like 24 hours before. She's a day late and $1 short. She come like breaking news that, oh, what's it called? The tour car has come and they have taken all the cars, the red Jeep from Eton, the black Saab, this, that, all the cars are going now to forensics. Wake up, Betty. We saw that way before you put it up. Trying to walk and show us the areas and how far the party campus house was from where the girls lived, where Zen and Eaton went to. Guess what? Brian Enton showed us that 2 days before Betty. I don't understand what she's doing there besides freezing herself off there. Before she turns into an ice statue, she needs to just go back to wherever she came from. Because we can't have people like that distracting all cases. When there is cases like that, these are victims. This is a murder, horrific murder case. People were slain, and she's standing there acting like the proper press. No wonder she's not allowed to press meetings, because she's not a press. In mental health counseling, before we even get our license, they do a personal counseling evaluation with us, a couple of sessions, to see if we are fit to be counselors. Honestly, they do that in the UK. I don't know about in the States, but over here, counselors have to go to counseling, even while we're at work. And if we deal with deep cases and severe cases, our supervisor will send us to counseling for a couple of sessions so that we don't end up in a burnout, and for them to make sure that we are stable enough to be counselors. That means we are doing everything ethically right. We're following the confidentiality. Confidentiality is the number one, because if you breach confidentiality, they revoke your license. But they make sure that all this is what we've been taught in trainee before we start, like the first couple of months when we are trainee counselors, all that is taught to us. And then when we have been working as counselors, it is like not taught to us again, but they send us for a mental health evaluation, honestly, just to make sure that we are fit and that we are carrying our ethical morals. I know that lawyers have the ethical morals, which I don't see much of it. It depends who they're defending. But counselors and psychiatrists and psychologists have to conduct by especially more serious ethical morals, because we are dealing with therapy. We are actually being trusted with somebody's personal information, with someone's personal thoughts, fantasies, whatever it is. So it is kind of a private relationship, because we have to sign a contract that we can't, even if it's a person who isn't a famous person, or if it's a person who's famous, whoever it is, we're not allowed to talk about the person or mention the names. We're not supposed to, we're supposed to carry ethical conduct, ethical morals, ethical principles, ethical standards. All this is taught to us in the university. All the 4 years I was going to university and to the training, to the placements and trainees, trainee in the start of our counseling. All this was kept on taught again and again. We were given many sessions of personal, individual counseling, just to make sure that we are fit to be counselors and that we aren't under burnout. So coming back to Betty, when she says she is press, she's no press. Press is like Jonathan Lee. Those are serious press. All these news anchors and all you see, sometimes they're sitting on the news desk and sometimes they have to go outside to the scene of the crime and talk. You never see somebody in the press with a bullhorn, because that is against the ethical morals. That is disturbing the public. They're actually neighbors there. She doesn't care because she has a lack of empathy. She's just here to make money from the subscribers and all. She's just here as a communal narcissistic to gain more attention, to gain more fame on grieving families' behalf. She takes advantage of these children's cases. So does Justice for All. He took advantage of a mental health patient called Jose. I always remember that and I always mention that. He's lucky he didn't get charges. He's lucky that Jose's family didn't sue him, because he's the one who brought him out to all the channels, till each and every channel, even Chris McDonald and the lab, all of them were taking turns on Jose while he told them that he was depressed. Now that is lack of empathy, lack of remorse, lack of everything, because they're dealing with the man who said he's attempted suicide before. Justice for All has lack of empathy because he was showing and trying to show the human remains inside the car of Kylie Rodney. How disgusting is that? How heartbreaking is that? And how sad is that? He was the first one. Him and the lab were giving out wrong addresses before Michael Wong. When Michael Wong's case, when we found out that they were digging behind the house the first day, they were just giving out wrong addresses, the lab and Justice Hall and all of these creators, just to get and gain views, super chats, and subscribers out of it. How low can one person get? These people have lack of empathy. They're narcissists. They think they're entitlement. They believe they're entitled to everything. Their grandiosity, superficial, chronic seeking of attention all the time. And if they don't get what they want, they have the tendency to be angry, put out rage, argue, make a nonsense and nuisance of themselves and of law enforcement and of the real press with the ethical morals. They're arrogant. They just make a scene. So we have to think to ourselves, it is important, who do you want or who do we want to be out there to represent us? There's so many ways of getting awareness and attention on a case, without going there physically and making an ass of ourselves. She's standing there. No wonder law enforcement in Ida are very smart. They always put cars in front of the house because it's a crime scene. But when they heard Bullhorn Betty's there, they all told each other automatically, oh, it's that crazy one. The one who was in Gabby Petito's case. Do you remember that one? Law enforcement told each other they've been warned. Oh my God, the chatting law enforcement too. The sheriff will send them an email. He'd say, oh my God, you all got that crazy woman and those crazy people on your case. Arrest them. That's why she's trying to be so goody and trying to praise law enforcement. And if she doesn't get it her way, she's going to have a fit and blame law enforcement. She has no shame just to gain subscribers and to gain attention. She's trying to say Kaylee Congazils, Kaylee the victim. She's trying to say that Kaylee was a fan and a subscriber of Olivia. So that makes her my subscriber too. That means she was watching me. She has no shame that this young girl lost her life. Her family are grieving. Betty Bullhorn, Andrea, you can't solve any of these cases. You need to go to mental health counseling. Take my advice. You don't have any empathy. You have no remorse. You're very deceitful. You keep on lying. You keep on trying to take advantage of the innocent victims and their parents. You make innocent victims' parents, like Brandy Neal, Michael's mother, cry. You went and made a nuisance out of poor Quentin Simon's neighborhood. You're just a volcano that is ready to erupt. You're just a hurricane that is ready to pass through. And I'm telling you the truth because I'm fed up of turning the TV and watching your madness because you make all of us YouTube creators look bad. You make all of the YouTube viewers look bad. You make your subscribers look bad, but your subscribers joined you. And they like that drama. So maybe they're narcissistic too. You have the tendency to cause rage and anger and grandioso wherever you go. You lie and add on cases. When I hear you, I just double research. I think, no, but that wasn't what was said. You don't even listen to press conferences. You make up your own words. You add drama to your channel. You're not there to save baby Quentin. You're there to make super chats. You're not there to find out what happened to the 4 students because that ain't your job. There's the FBI in it. And the world is just watching you making a nuisance of yourself. And soon you will see justice for all and MGL there. It's not only Betty, it's the whole crew. None of them have ethical morals. None of them have self-respect. None of them have self-conduct. They misconduct everything. They search for vulnerable cases of poor victims so that they can take advantage and abuse those cases. Use and abuse and then just throw them away and move on to the next case that they can use and abuse. She's chronically seeking for admiration. She's seeking for attention. She's seeking for validation. She's seeking for everything. She's grandiose. She thinks she's entitled to everything. If not, she would just stamp her foot down like a little girl. And now she's gone all the way, like already the college students wasn't suffering enough. She just had to go and add more grief by putting her recording on a live stream while people are fearful that there's a stalker and a killer, a serial killer on the loose. If they continue running their things like that, she may be just lucky to run into the serial killer, and it may not end up well. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the truth. There's a serial killer on the loose, but Betty, Bullhorn Betty Andrea, is what? I think she's Batman, Superman, Spider Man, Hulk Hogan. I don't know what she is, the Hulk. She really believes she's untouchable. She's just going and giving us not news that we don't know about, she's giving us the same news. How about that? That's the time you think, oh my God, stop it. I just heard it from the news, the professional news channel, and you're lying about what they say. Didn't you see when she asked the police officer, what are they doing with the cars? He said, read it in the press report. She kept on insisting and asking him again. He said, read it in the press report. Go online and check the press report. So what makes her think that she's going to get information from law enforcement that they're not willing to share with the real reporters? She's the fake reporter. If she was a real reporter, she would have been in all the press conferences with the real news asking questions. So this woman is a communal narcissistic. She is a narcissistic. She has a lot of traits of narcissism. That is the reason maybe she doesn't have a relationship, that she doesn't have a partner. I'm being honest, because it would have been a clash. They always have relationship breakdowns because they're manipulative, deceitful characters. She just wants to be 24/7 under the spotlight. Don't think she's doing it for baby Quentin. Don't think she's doing it for Summer Wells. Don't think she's doing it for Gabriela Venora Petito. She ain't doing it for them. Chronicle for Olivia was the one who said that she found the bottle of Brian and Gabby. I think she planted it there herself. Many people have said that, and I believe it. Because that bottle was never there, and it wasn't taken for evidence. The police look at them like they're lunatics. And I know for a fact that when Betty and Chronicle with Olivia's in Kylie Rodney's case, when they came out with Jane 1 and Jane 2, I'm telling you, it wasn't any Jane 1 and Jane 2. They made up the character themselves because that is what they do for money. That is what they do for fame. They don't care what they do because these are deceitful people. They don't have real news to report. They see super chats coming in, so they don't mind breaking the rules. They don't care. If they really cared about baby Quentin, they would have gone and helped the neighborhood by putting up memorials, balloons, trying to convince Billy Joe maybe to talk a bit. You get me? In a nice way. But no, they wanted to be the enemy. They wanted to try and act like good cop and bad cop. Until they went and started bothering the real cops like Dolly Vision, and then he got arrested. That's what happens when you don't stay out of professional businesses that you're not entitled to know about, like the law enforcement. And it's a typical sign for narcissistic to have a rage, temper. If people stop gaslighting them, if people stop saying good things about them, if they believe they're entitled to everything. So if they do not get things their way, they start having rage. They start making drama. It's a known fact. And that's what Betty does. So she is a narcissistic. And I really believe she suffers of a narcissistic personality disorder, more like, because narcissism is more just a character of a person and their traits. A narcissistic personality disorder is a disorder, and I really believe she suffers of that. Not only her, Justin, Jonathan Lee, Morrigan Rightly, it's all about them. Whether they're drunk, whether they're sober, whether it's day, whether it's night. Haven't you noticed cases they take on, they hardly even say justice, may God bless their souls. They don't put pictures of Quentin. It was all about me, I. There you go. That's a narcissistic. So don't let, and the best treatment with narcissistic people and narcissism is they do not like it. They don't like coming for treatment because it's more like an individual treatment between the therapy and them. That's what we do with them. We have the skills not to let them charm us or manipulate us. They can keep on trying, but a good counselor wouldn't let them. They would even try to take over the show. It's happened many times. They've tried to take over sessions in counseling. And we literally have to bring them back to the position to understand, like, hold on. You're not running the counselor session. I'm the mental health counselor. You're the narcissistic who needs to change your personality and your traits. It's not that they don't know that they're hurting people, it's that they don't care they're hurting people. Because they're born with empathy, but they decide they don't have lack of empathy. They don't care because it's about gaining for them. It's like more like what's in it for me. They wouldn't think about the victim. And I'm very proud of Fruitland Law Enforcement and Michael's mother, Brandy. Stay strong, Brandy. May God bless you. And stay strong. You never know. God is great. God is good. So don't believe that there's no hope for Michael. Miracles happen every day, Brandy. And we are praying for you. And I'm proud of you, Brandy, that you stood up against a narcissistic person called Bullhorn Betty. And now they're going and wanting, she said day before yesterday, I believe, she and Olivia, yeah, we'll be going around interviewing the students. The students in Idaho are in panic. They're trying to stay away from a serial killer or multiple homicide killer. Law enforcement are walking them, escorting them to their cars. Why are you putting their lives in danger, Betty? Bullhorn Betty? You need to take your bullhorn, or maybe this time you did bring it with you. You need to take your staff and go back to Florida because your services is no longer needed there. It wasn't needed to start with at the first place. I hate people who just invite themselves into case just to get subscribers. It's shameful and it's just graceful, and it just shows that obviously when you don't lack empathy and you're 24/7 into me, and gaslighting, and you want everyone to look at you and you pretend that you're doing good services out for the community. She kept on saying, we're fighting for justice for this little baby. He needs his justice, baby Quentin. But she didn't care about the justice or showing empathy for the neighbors who are old, who have children, who are vulnerable people in the neighborhood. She's standing there every morning. She and Dolly and Chronicle with Olivia's eating taco and all. How shameful can that be? You saw today when she was talking, I don't agree with the guy who called her such horrible names, who pulled up in his car. That was wrong. No man should speak to a woman like that, period. But when a woman is acting like that, He had no right to call her such bad words, but it ends up frustrating the neighborhood and people. Because if you come, people have seen her all over the TV trying to seek attention, not for the victims, for herself, trying to act like the Good Samaritan and going and disturbing the other neighbors. That's not how you solve a crime. That's not how you get justice. You can sit at your home, research, put out awareness clips, and get justice for the victims without going and disturbing people. She was doing that for a couple of weeks in Quinton's, near Quinton's area. Imagine how many people have mental health illness in the houses, and their PTSD was getting triggered up. The anxiety was getting triggered up, all because one crazy woman who just wants super chats and views has no self-respect, no self-dignity, and is disgracing the name and the purpose of these poor victims like Quinton. God bless his soul, baby Quinton, baby Summer, and all these other missing victims. And now she wants to go to Idaho and mess around there. She better come back home before she runs into the serial killer. And it may not end up well. I'm dead serious. She just invites herself to the case without researching how dangerous the cases are. What is it she's actually doing? I haven't seen anything. We get every news we want from all the news. This is a high profile case in Idaho. It's on ABC News, it's on CNN, it's on Fox News, it's on CBS, it's on BBC News. It's in all the newses in the world. So what news would you want to hear from Bullhorn Betty? And the day I decided to stand against Bullhorn Betty, in case you're hearing and you're wondering why I'm on your case, is because you disrespected Gerard Lissick, his cousin, who is a victim who was 9 years old, who got raped and abused, sugar warning, by that maniac narcissistic like you. He's a narcissistic like you, and you were saying, he's just an asshole boss. No, he's not an asshole boss. He's a rapist. And he's a narcissistic, just like you are. But I guess one narcissistic can smell the other narcissistic well. Your behaviors are rotten, you need to change. And it's not about you, it's about the subscribers and the people who are supporting you with your projects to go and attack innocent neighborhoods. They need to stop it. Because it doesn't make your subscribers look good. It makes your subscribers look like they're grandiose to themselves, that they have lack of empathy, and that they're seeking for validation. It's all a shame. It's a big, massive joke. And it's sad that they're killing the purpose of true crime. They're killing the purpose of putting out awareness for these poor people. So guys, that is what a communal narcissistic is. After you learn about a communal narcissist, if you want to do your research, then look at Betty and put a comment down. You can agree or you can disagree, as long as you are not rude. My subscribers are lovely people. I'm talking about the other people. Maybe Bullhorn Betty is subscribers or whoever. I don't tolerate bad language or abuse or anything that goes off the topics. This is my opinion. This is for entertainment purpose, and this is definitely a mental health awareness case called Andrea Bullhorn Betty channel, a disgrace to the YouTube race. And so is justice for all. It's better he just talks about the bags and perfumes he talks about. I think he's doing that much better than talking about victims, because he has no empathy for the victims. You can see it from his face. He's just there to violate the victims and show their human remains in a car. He's just there to trigger victims who were suicidal, may God rest his soul, like Jose, and he's the cause of it. He should sleep. He shouldn't sleep well at night. He should be guilty of what he's done. He should ask God for forgiveness and maybe write an apology note to Jose's 16-year-old daughter and girlfriend. Because of him, Jose got attacked on YouTube. And then it got passed around to the lab and Chris McDonough and so on. And that wasn't right. Wrong is wrong. Should never be afraid of pointing out wrong. And we should never be afraid of encouraging the people who do right. Have a blessed night, guys. Stay blessed. Look after yourselves. Life is too short. Engage with positive people. Disconnect yourself. Don't socialize with people who are attacking neighbors, who have no empathy, who just gaslight, who just throw a tantrum if they're not getting their way, who are chronically seeking for attention, who are not there to help these cases. They're arrogant, they're ignorant, they're selfish, they're useless, and they put out a bad name for people who are really spreading awareness. So guys, have a lovely weekend. Look after yourself. Stay blessed. Pray for the victims of Idaho. May God bless their souls. May they rest in peace. Condolence to their families. Justice for all the victims that are still remaining, whose cases needs to be solved, like Lena Kielsadar from San Antonio, Texas. On the 25th of December, Christmas Day, this year is going to be a year since Lena has been missing. And justice for Summer Wells, precious baby Summer Wells. I hope Tennessee Bureau of Investigation gives us more information about her. Candice is just going around like she never have had Summer or carried Summer for 9 months. It's a shame. We don't know what's up with Don. He hasn't come out. I wonder if it was Don who did something, and that's why they're increasing his time. Let's stand up for Gerard, his sister. The court case has started. She would need our support. If you're hearing me, Gerard's cousin, may God bless you. Stay strong. We stand for you. We stand with you. And we're not like Betty Bullhorn, putting down victims, especially victims who have been through serious abuse when they're only 9 years old. Don't worry, there will be a light in the tunnel. You won't be living always in darkness. You've got our support. As for Gerard, may justice be done, allegedly for all the things you've done, but you've admitted it. And just send the email you sent the girl, Gerard Lissick, if you're listening. Can you please send the stupid Bullhorn Betty that is saying that you never admitted it? I don't know which world she comes from. That's the reason I'm calling her stupid and ignorant. When she goes to the stage of accusing Gerard's cousin sister, saying that this is a plot, that she's not a victim, that is the thing. It's all about her. She wants to be the center of attention. Bullhorn Betty, you need to stop. As for Olivia, you need to go back to college or something. You're wasting your life with that woman who has no sense, who has no common sense, who has no self-respect, who has no human dignity. I don't know what your mother is doing. She should be advising you, but she's always hanging around with you. Leave these Idaho victims alone so that they can be escorted to their safe positions. But I just have a feeling they're going to get thrown out, mark my words, from Idaho very soon. They're just trying to behave themselves, but Idaho police wouldn't be having it. They're just there distracting the university students who are already living in fear. Guys, stay blessed, take care, have a lovely night. Bye.